John Burton here on News Channel 5 Plus. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday evening. Our producer, Taylor Prey, taking your phone calls as well. Just glad that Taylor's here. He had some issues with the weather the past couple of days. This is our first and only sports line of the week, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Not much going on. You may have heard the Tennessee Titans now in search of a new head coach. Hours after it got out that Mike Mularkey was to receive a contract extension, Sunday night, Monday morning, it was announced he's gone. Let go as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Of course, the team saying that the team and Coach Mularkey coming to a mutual agreement. All kinds of reaction on this. We want your reaction. Our first chance to chat about this. It's been a couple of days. You've had time to let it settle in. And I know a lot of you fans are happy about this decision. A lot of fans wanted to see Mike Mularkey gone, citing issues with the offense and other areas. And so now you get your wish. What now? Well, for that, we search for answers and we check in with our good friend, Jonathan Hutton from 104.5 The Zone and Titans Radio, who did a great job serving as our NFL and Titans analyst all season. Jay Hutt, thanks so much for jumping on, man. We've seen a lot of each other the last few days. You did a great job with us on our two Titans specials before the Patriots game. I know you're working hard, and it's great to have you on, man.
Hanging with you and Layman, never a bad thing, man. Always great to be on with you.
All right, Jay Hutt, I got to laugh because there we were Sunday night getting ready for our Sunday sports show. You were with us. You saw me. I could barely keep my eyes open. I was so tired from all the traveling I had been doing. And you let us know that you had sources within the Titans organization saying that, hey, it's all good. Mularkey is going to get an extension. He's not going anywhere. He's staying. I wake up Monday morning on my day off. I hop on Twitter. And next thing you know, all you know what has broken loose and Mularkey's gone. What happened between Sunday night and Monday morning when the decision was announced, as far as you know?
Well, I mean, I did get a text that said that there was an extension headed Mularkey's way. That was Sunday night, right before we went on with Sports Central. And yeah, and same as you, I woke up Monday morning and heard the news on the wake-up zone that he was out. And, John, I can't help but look back at the press conference and think that he doubled down on his stance that he wasn't going to make changes, not just a coordinator, but to his philosophy, because it's more than just firing Terry Robisky.
Right.
Terry Robisky was running Mike Mularkey's offense, and whenever I evaluated what he did at that presser, which was very odd, short answers, and normally in those settings, John, and you've been in just as many as I have in those end-of-season assessments, that's normally where you get the most honest assessments from coaches that stand behind that podium and evaluate the season and individual players. And I don't know, it just wasn't the same Mike Mularkey behind that podium.
It felt different, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It just felt odd leaving there, because we all were talking to ourselves thinking, did he really just say Marcus had a good year and that he feels like he's doing everything in his best interest and that the offense is okay and headed in the right direction? I mean, it just felt strange. And to be honest with you, I felt a strange vibe since the trip to Arizona. I felt like that's kind of where the tide turned in all of this. The offense did absolutely nothing against the Cardinals. They went more up-tempo, no huddle against San Francisco, and started to move the ball in that second half. But again, that long trip out there is where it just got a little strange. They returned home, and that's whenever you started to hear the rumblings that Mularkey could be out. And then Mularkey even admitted after the Kansas City game that he was coaching for his job that day. He said on Titans Radio that the quote was, I felt like my job was on the line all week, including today, speaking of the game. And then you had the statement from Amy Adams-Strunk that said that she felt like, they would keep him around. I don't know.
Moving forward was what she said.
It's not what happened Sunday into Monday morning as much as what has carried over the last month and a half.
Jonathan, it's interesting you say that, because I think back to Amy Adams-Strunk's statement saying that Mike Mularkey is our head coach and will be our head coach going forward. And you and I have talked about this. Never once did she say Mike Mularkey will be our head coach in 2018. It was almost as if, well, we didn't expect to come back and beat the Chiefs, but since we did, obviously we need a coach to go up to New England and play. So Mike Mularkey's it, and so we'll go forward with Mike. I just, with all due respect to Amy Adams Strunk, I don't think she handled this very well from a PR standpoint. Coming out and openly supporting Mike Mularkey, and then it seems like almost succumbing to a power struggle between John Robinson, the GM, and Mike Mularkey, the head coach. Now, I understand there were some problems with the offense, John, but I also understand that Marcus Mariota was hurt for most of the year. I also understand that DeMarco Murray missed games. I also understand that Corey Davis basically missed all of training camp, and it took him a long time to get up to speed. I also understand the team's game plan to take away Delaney Walker. You add all that up, I'm not saying that it's an excuse for why the offense struggled, but there seemed to be reasons why there were offensive struggles this year. Where do you come out on that?
Well, I agree. I can point to the reasons. And I mentioned this on Sunday Sports Central with you and Steve. I felt like a big reason why the offense struggled is Mike Mularkey never had a plan B in all of those situations you just mentioned. If the run game wasn't working, they were sticking with the run game over and over and over again. If Marcus Mariota was immobile, they were sticking with the offense and just taking out the mobile part of the play calling instead of adjusting the offense to fit exactly what they needed to do. And even though it was mass protection and it was about the two tight end sets and trying to help Marcus Mariota, he still ends the season lame. He's still limping around and having to play through bumps and bruises. Every quarterback does that. But it just felt like towards the end of the year, and especially when they got back from the San Francisco trip, Terry Robisky and Mike Mularkey started to speak about how, well, Marcus isn't running, and it takes away so much of what we had planned to do. Well, you have to have an alternate plan to what you're going to do and adjust in the National Football League. I felt like the defense did a really nice job of adjusting whenever they got crushed in Houston. They came back, made some adjustments, and moved forward and improved. The offense never played a complete game. The offense never improved week to week and built on what they did the previous week. This is an offense that struggled to put up a touchdown against the Cleveland Browns. They were the only offense to not score against the Cleveland Browns this year. So, look, Amy Adams Strunk, she gave support for Mike Mularkey. What she did not do is support his staff in any way in that statement. And she never said that she agreed with moving forward what the offense was going to be. And my guess is she felt a lot like the fans and a lot like you and I talking tonight. We knew that adjustments had to be made. And Mike Mularkey, look, I can see his side of it. He won 19 games in 2 years, won a playoff game coming back from 18 points down at the half with his offense. He's looking at it like, look, my offense won 19 games in 2 years,
right,
and I inherited maybe the worst roster in the National Football League 2 years ago. So I don't need to change anything. I understand both sides, but in the offseason, he had to be open to adjustments, and it doesn't sound like he was.
Talking with Jonathan Hutton, our good friend from 104.5 The Zone. He's also from Titans Radio, and he's also our Titans and NFL analyst here at News Channel 5 Sports. Jonathan, it's funny, you mentioned the fans, and I want to go back to a question that I asked John Robinson Monday in the press conference. I specifically asked him, given that we're in a different day and time, was the decision to get rid of Mularkey, did it have anything to do with a lot of the social media backlash from fans? You've seen it. I've seen it. I've gone back and forth with several Titans fans, either on social media or in person, whether I'm out to dinner or out for a drink or at the gym. Obviously, it's a different time now. Fans can let their emotions and their feelings be known pretty quickly and like never before. And I asked John Robinson, did that have anything to do with it? And he didn't say no. He just said, we're committed to the fans. We're committed to building a winner here. Where do you come out on that? Do you think that some of the social media pressure, the backlash from fans had anything to do with this? Your colleague, your co-host on 104.5 The Zone, Paul Kaharski, put up a Twitter poll and said, good move or bad move to get rid of Mularkey. Last I saw it, 98% said good move. So I'm just wondering, are we in a situation now where teams have to take into consider how fans react now on social media when making big decisions, i.e. who your head coach is going to be or whether or not to get rid of him?
Well, I also think if you did an approval rating for John Robinson, it would be about the same percentage in Paul's poll if you just reverse the question. Look, I think the Titans absolutely are listening to their fans. In this day and age, I think every team has to be doing that in the landscape that we're in. But I don't think they looked at the social media reaction on Sunday and said, okay, tomorrow morning we got to let Mike Mularkey go.
Right.
Because going into the Jacksonville game, the reports were it was win, get to the playoffs, or he's out. Going into the Kansas City game, it was win or he's out. And I don't think it really changed all that much going into New England. You could tell based on the way Mularkey took the podium after the Kansas City game, he didn't feel like his job was very secure at the time and didn't feel that way all week. He let it be known. He actually addressed his contract situation, even though he says he never does.
Right.
And because of all of that, I think this is something that had been brewing, and that wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment reaction to the way social media was responding at that particular time. And look, the reaction I've received all week is people appreciate the job Mike Mularkey did, but they also respect the decision John Robinson made because everyone watching this team this year knew that the offense had to take a step forward this offseason. Something had to be adjusted, and it had to be in the best interest of the quarterback. And if Marcus Mariota, going into year number 4, if you felt like you were going to be asking the same questions about Mariota after year 4 that we have right now, you had to make a move if the coach wasn't willing to make an adjustment.
Talking with Jonathan Hutton from 104.5 The Zone and Titans Radio. All right, Jonathan, let's kind of move ahead a little bit. So far, I've heard of 3 candidates, Steve Wilks, Mike Vrabel, and Matt LaFleur. 2 of them are defensive coaches. So if the problem's the offense, why are they? I understand you can't leave any stone unturned, but I'm a little curious as to why a lot of these defensive-minded coaches are getting looks for this job when supposedly the offense needs to be fixed.
Well, the case in point, I don't think it has to be an offensive-minded head coach. Because Ken Whisenhunt just came through those doors. He was there whenever Marcus Mariota was drafted. He called his own plays, and he failed miserably. So it doesn't have to be an offensive-minded head coach running the football team. It has to be a head coach that has a direction that's best for the organization and best for its quarterback and offensive-minded coaching staff. If it's a defensive coordinator, if it's Wilks or Vrabel, whenever they make their presentation, they better have 3 or 4 solid, strong names and candidates that they're bringing with them. I've seen where John DeFilippo is linked with Steve Wilks, and I've been reading that from the interviews taking place in Arizona. Well, John DeFilippo is given a lot of credit for the development of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an offensive background for the head coach as long as he's paired with an exceptional coach that he's bringing in as his offensive coordinator. And the same goes for the offensive coach. If it's a young coordinator, everyone's looking for that next Sean McVay.
Yeah. That's
the hot thing in L.A. And look, I get it. The guy's gone in and has turned that franchise around with the talent that he inherited, and he did it immediately. But he also brought in Wade Phillips with him that paired with him, and that was a gift to Sean McVay for their defense. If it's a younger offensive coordinator, I'm also asking the question about the defense, just like I would be asking the defensive coordinator about the offense. It's about the leader of the organization from the football department more so than it is one side of the football or the other.
Finishing up here with Jonathan Hutton here on Sportsline. Jonathan, I think one thing has become clear. Amy Adams-Strunk has put all of her trust into John Robinson. This is clearly, it's her team, but it's also a big part his team now as well. I think what we saw on Monday is a clear example of that. He says no timetable to find a new head coach, but I would assume sooner rather than later with, things like the combine coming up, draft preparations need to be underway. You need to figure out how to structure the offseason. It seems to me sooner would be better than later, correct?
I agree, but there's no rush if you know where you're headed. If for instance, if you're waiting on Philadelphia's coaches, Frank Reich or John DeFilippo, if you want to talk to those guys, you've got to wait until they're either eliminated, or if they win this weekend, you have to wait until January 28th. And if you feel if it's in your best interest to speak with those guys, it's absolutely worth the wait, because you're trying to make a 5 to 10 year decision with your coach. That's the approach I would take. The decision that's in front of them right now is so much more important than what takes place at the Senior Bowl, because you still have your scouting department ready to go. They're rocking and rolling. They're ready to go to Mobile and do all of those things while you get your staff in place. And while certainly you need to be able to roll out your coaching staff and your head coach, but they need to make sure they get this hire right. And I say that because they just fired the guy that won 19 games in 2 years and won the first playoff game since 2004. So I can promise you they're not rushing to quickly make a hire if they feel like the guy they need to speak with isn't available to speak with them right now. John would be willing to wait on that person if he has to wait. Now, maybe, these interviews take place this week, and the first impression that John Robinson made on Amy Adams-Strunk is the same first impression that the next head coach makes on them. My bet is they'll know within the first 15 to 20 minutes whether or not the guy meets their criteria or not.
Right.
That's what happened with John Robinson. When he sat down with Amy Adams-Strunk, she knew within the first 10 minutes she was hiring him. So, look, if anything needs to be, if patience needs to be had on one decision, it's certainly this one.
I'll get you out of here on this. What's funny, and I know you'll enjoy this too, all this talk about the quote-unquote minority owners of the Steelers wanting the Rooneys to get rid of Mike Tomlin. It's pretty funny. As you know, I spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh covering the Steelers and, very familiar with the Rooney family. It's pretty funny to me. I mean, this is an organization that's had 3 head coaches since 1969, and you look at Tomlin's record, and he needs to tighten the ship up there in Pittsburgh and kind of get everybody on the same page. But there's no way the Rooneys are going to fire Mike Tomlin.
If the minority owners had the ability to fire Mike Tomlin, they wouldn't be asking for permission or asking for the blessing to have it done, right? I mean,
right.
It's just crazy. Tomlin would not last 10 minutes on the coaching market. There would be another job that would open up to go hire him. I truly believe that if he were available.
Oh, if a team had somebody like agree to a deal, they would be like, sorry, deal's off. We're ripping it up. We're bringing in Mike Tomlin.
Yes. I mean, that's how good of a coach he is and how respected he is across the league. And on top of that, if Pittsburgh really wanted to fire Mike Tomlin, they would trade him the way the Oakland Raiders traded John Gruden a few years back. So
yeah.
I mean, they would try to get what he's worth instead of just dropping him and allowing him to go anywhere, including their division. Tomlin would be a hot commodity right now.
20 seconds, Jonathan. Who wins on Sunday? Who will we see in the Super Bowl?
Going Patriots and Vikings. That is the absolute best matchup for us as we cover that. I will not be surprised if Jacksonville puts up a fight. I told you that on Sunday.
Yep.
I think Jacksonville matches up well against New England's offense.
Jonathan, we love having you on. Thanks so much for your insight and your great analysis of the Titans in the NFL with us all season long. Love having you on, my man, and enjoy Championship Sunday.
Thank you, John. We're just missing one player this weekend.
Who's that? Oh, I know. Cam. I know. My heart's broken. Maybe next year.
Titans, Panthers next year.
That's right. See you, buddy. Thank you so much.
See you, John.
All right. Jonathan Hutton. You can catch him on 104.5 The Zone. An extra hour now. They go from 2 to 6 on the Midday 180. All right. We're way late for a break. When we come back, I want your reaction. Mike Mularkey, gone. Good move, bad move. What kind of coach do you want to coach the Titans? All that is next right here on Sportsline. Stay with us.